Mr. Transformers 96 here with another end of the year video. This time we have my top least favorite Marvel Legends figures of the year. So this is something that I've done for a couple years now. I do enjoy. I purchase quite a few Marvel Legends. Usually I buy almost every Marvel Legends figure that comes out in the year. So I do make a list of my favorite Marvel Legends of the year, and now here's my list of my least favorite Marvel Legends of the year, which is something that because of the Build-A-Figures, I don't really buy the figures just based on the figures alone. Because of the Build-A-Figures, I do buy full waves to complete the Build-A-Figures, and therefore there's quite a few figures that I'm not too excited for, or not really looking, don't really think look great, that I do end up purchasing. So of course this list isn't actually too hard to make, which is crazy. But yeah, so here's my list, and also, like I said, you can check out my list of my top favorite Marvel Legends figures of the year as well. In fifth place, we have the Cosmic Spider-Man from the Vulture Wings series. This figure, not great. It's plain. It's not one that I was looking forward to. Getting it in person didn't really do anything too much for me. I will say that I do like the kind of pearlescent white that it uses, and the metallic blue is excellent. And the white on blue is painted very nicely, and he comes with 3 head sculpts, which is quite good. So, although I find this figure super boring, I didn't do anything with it. I literally took it out of the package and put it on the shelf. Put on the head sculpt that I thought was kind of the most interesting one, and put it on the shelf. And yeah, I haven't done anything with it since. It does get the lowest place on this list, though, simply because it has nice paint, at least. Although there's not much paint on it, the paint that they did use is quite nice. In the fourth spot, we have Rocket Raccoon from the Mantis Build-A-Figure wave. This figure itself it's perfectly fine. It's a good Rocket Raccoon figure. It's a nice update from the last one. Definitely has more articulation. I like the fact that you get 2 head sculpts. My issue with it is the size. It's so puny that it really just feels like you're getting a bit gypped here. They could have easily given you that larger weapon that Rocket uses in the beginning fighter, or the jetpack. Like if they wanted to give you a small figure and then load him up with accessories, that would be cool. But they didn't. They gave you a small figure with a baby Groot, a second head sculpt, and then 2 really small guns. So he comes with 4 accessories, all of which are very tiny though. And it would be another thing too if like the Build-A-Figure was really big or something, so you can see why they cut down on some of the figures in the wave. But that's not the case. This is the smallest Build-A-Figure that we've had in years. So this figure just has no excuse to being in a single figure in this wave. It definitely should have came out in like a pack set, or it should have come out with a larger amount of accessories and things like that. So the 4th spot is definitely where this one deserves. The 3rd spot goes to Spider-Man UK from the Sandman Build-A-Figure wave. This was a boring figure. It wasn't one that I was looking forward to. It has like a standard sculpt. The only thing that I kind of find interesting about it is the kind of bulkier head sculpt for Spider-Man. That's kind of a unique thing, which is cool. But the paint is rather boring as well. It uses dull blues and reds, and there just isn't much paint on him in general. So, this one is similar to the Cosmic Spider-Man one, but the Cosmic Spider-Man one came with multiple head sculpts, and the paint that it uses, although limited, was very cool. So that's why this one definitely gets a worse spot on this list. Alright, second place is none other than Cyclops from the Warlock Build-A-Figure wave. I'm sure a lot of you are very frustrated at me right now. I definitely think this is going to be a controversial choice. However, it's one that has to be made. I really found this figure disappointing. I was super excited for this. Getting a nice classic 90s Jim Lee Cyclops was one that I was extremely excited for. Probably the one that I was most looking forward to in the wave. And it just was disappointing. I love the design of the suit and everything. Great character choice. It's great. But the figure itself isn't executed very well. It uses a standard sculpt, and then it doesn't even glue on the straps, so the straps are always falling down the leg, which makes it really not fun to pose. It makes it actually really annoying to pose. The waist belt doesn't clip on very tightly. It's always popping off. And then the head sculpt, I really think that he should have come with the second head sculpt, shooting the laser with like a more expressive face sculpt. I think that would be so necessary, because otherwise he's relatively boring. You can like put his finger up to his eye like he's gonna shoot something, but you can't put him in any like physically shooting poses or anything like that. So I find this figure to have immense potential in the character, but it was really let down on by Hasbro. I think that it's definitely of poor quality. I think that they could have easily made this like one of the best figures of the year, and instead they took shortcuts and made it one of the worst, in my opinion. And the most disappointing Marvel Legends of 2017, in my opinion, is Tombstone from the Sandman Build-A-Figure wave, or actually from the Vulture wave, sorry. This figure I just found really disappointing. I was really looking forward to this one. I like Tombstone. I'm a big fan of Spider-Man villains. He looked really cool. I was very excited to get him, and when I got him, I was super disappointed. I like the face sculpt a lot. The paint is the biggest issue on this guy. He's got this cheap paint scheme. Like, it looks like it's a rip-off figure, and I got this one in person in store, so obviously I know it's not, but it's just so cheap. Like, the black is like dull, and it almost looks like the base color is kind of like almost bleeding through it, or really, you know, bringing it down. And then his skin tone just looks like they didn't do it well. Like, it's a bad mixture of a light blue and a cream white. It doesn't meld very well. So I like the face sculpt, but the paint on the face is not my favorite either. And then just the cheap paint all else around looks awful. And then the knee joints are a bit flimsy as far as just the kind of more rubberish plastic that they're made out of, which is annoying too. So as a whole, really disappointing, because I was really looking forward to this one. So this one was definitely disappointing on quite a large level. So overall, this was actually, quite an interesting assortment of disappointing Marvel Legends figures. Usually with disappointing Marvel Legends figures that I do of the year, a lot of them are just kind of the simple sculpts that, you know, don't really come with anything, which you see a little bit here with, like, the UK Spider-Man. But other than that, you know, that's mainly the list of Marvel Legends figures that disappointed me. This year, there was actually several that were good in some ways, but just horrible in others, like Tombstone, Cyclops, and Rocket, which really, which made this list kind of interesting in the way that it was composed, or at least it made it different than what usually ends up happening. So yeah, so it's nice to see that there's less boring figures, but it does dishearten me at the fact that the quality's gone down in some degree on some of them, and then like you have Rocket here, which just, you know, doesn't feel like it should fit in the wave. So kind of interesting assortment of my most disappointing Marvel Legends figures of the year. I'd love to hear what you guys think of my picks, and I'd love to hear your guys' choices as well, and thanks so much for watching.